Have you ever been on a date or talking to a girl you really liked and the conversation suddenly flatlines? You're sitting there, racking your brain for what to say, but the silence just gets heavier? I've been there and it sucks. But in today's video, I'm gonna show you 6 proven tools that will guarantee you will never run out of things to say with women again, even if you're introverted. So it's usually one of two things. Either you're too nervous, you're stuck in your head, you're overthinking every word and you can't relax, or you haven't built your social muscle yet. Just like at the gym, if you never train chest, you can't expect to bench heavy. Conversations work the same way. If you never warm up or practice, when the moment comes and the pressure hits, your brain just freezes. But the good news is, both of these can be fixed, and I'll show you how. Tool number 1 is a conversation warm-up drill. Or I should say drills, because there are two. But the first one is called the flow drill. You set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes, you create a random sentence, and from that sentence you pick a random word and create another sentence, and on for 10 minutes. Let me give you an example. I had oatmeal this morning. Oatmeal reminds me of grandma. Grandma used to tell me stories about her life in Vegas. Vegas makes me think about poker. Poker chips always end up under my couch somehow. And you keep doing this for 10 minutes. You see how none of this makes sense? That's the point. This exercise will help you switch topics effortlessly, help you talk nonstop for 10 minutes straight, and drop the internal filter that makes you overthink. Most guys do the opposite. They stay stuck on a topic forever and the conversation gets boring really fast. But this exercise breaks the pattern. And if you get stuck on this exercise, there's no panic. You just create another sentence. The goal of this exercise is to put you in a social flow before you interact with the world. The second exercise is called the deep dive drill, and this is the completely opposite of the flow drill. Here, instead of jumping randomly, you just pick a topic and you riff on it for 5 to 10 minutes straight. For example, I love coffee. When I was in Paris, I had an espresso and it almost knocked me out. It's funny how every country had a different coffee culture. This drill forces you to come up with new angles and elaborate on the same topic. It trains a completely different muscle. The ability to make simple things interesting instead of cutting the conversation short. And here's the best part. You can stack them into a quick daily routine. Do 5 minutes of flow to loosen up, then 5 minutes of deep dive to build depth. In the car, during your commute, even in the shower, it's important to practice out loud. That's how you train your brain to never run out of things to say and puts you in a social flow before you even leave the house. And here's another pro tip. You can record yourself doing these drills on your phone. And when you play it back, notice your range of expression, your body language. Are you smiling? Are you playful? Are you sounding monotone? Recording yourself gives you instant awareness and helps you improve fast. Now, warm-up drills are great because they get you loose, but once you're in a conversation, you need something more solid to fall back on. And this is where tool number 2 comes in, having your signature stories ready. Conversations with women are pretty predictable. You'll hear the same questions over and over. Where are you from? What do you do? What do you like to do for fun? Most guys wing it and they give boring one-line answers, and the conversation dies. But you need to have at least 3 signature stories ready that make you stand out. For example, when I was 18, I took my first trip completely alone to Greece. At first, it was uncomfortable, but it forced me to talk to people. I talked with strangers, I made friends from all over Europe, and that gave me the confidence to step outside of my comfort zone. Honestly, that trip changed the way I see people now. Or, I used to spend hours gaming every day, but after my first breakup, I realized I needed to level up my life. So I switched to self-improvement, gym, travel, learning new skills, and it completely changed my direction in life. Having these stories ready means you'll always have something engaging to share, and you won't freeze when those questions come up. Now that you've got your signature stories ready, the next step is simple. You need to ask the other person questions you want to answer yourself. Here's why. In almost every conversation, when you ask someone a question, they answer and bounce it back with, "What about you?" That's your doorway. Instead of randomly dropping your story in the middle of the conversation and making it feel forced, you set it up nicely. For example, let's say you want to share your travel story. You ask her, "So, have you done much traveling?" She'll answer yes or no, and usually she'll ask you back. And now's the chance to drop your story. And here's the beauty of it. Even if she doesn't ask you back, this is the chance to still drop your story, to slide into your story. because it's relevant now. It's on the same topic. It doesn't come across as forced because you just cracked the door open with your question. Tool number 4 is adding personal input. Most guys ruin the vibe of a conversation by giving short, lifeless answers. And this is where personal input comes in, because it keeps the conversation flowing and gives her something real to respond to. So for example, if she asks, "How's your day going?" most guy would say, "Good, how about you?" Flat, here's how you can respond. Pretty solid actually. I've just crashed the gym workout and now I'm feeling that post-gym buzz. I grabbed a quick protein shake on my way here, and honestly now I'm just enjoying slowing down a bit. Notice what happened here. I didn't say anything extraordinary. I just painted a quick picture. But that gives her the chance to ask about the gym, about my routine, or share her own habits. That's the power of personal input. Instead of cutting the conversation short, you expand it with simple, everyday details that make the conversation feel alive. Tool number 5. Comment on emotion, not just words. Because most guys only listen to literal words a woman says. You need to notice how she says it. Her vibe, her tone, her energy. That's where the goal is. If she says, "My day was fine," in a flat voice, don't just move on. You could say, "Sounds like it was raining. Long day at work?" See what's happening here? You're not responding to the surface level words. You're responding to her emotional state. And when you do that, that's when she actually feels like you get her. The bonus here is that emotions are universal. So even if you haven't been in her exact situation before, you've probably have felt tired, stressed, excited, or happy before. So it's easy to connect through emotion. Try this next time. Instead of immediately answer her words, pause for a second, notice her vibe, and respond to that. It's a small shift, but it makes conversation way more engaging, and it makes her feel you understand her on a more deeper level. Tool number 6, permission to switch topics. Most guys think that conversations have to follow this perfect logical thread like a staircase, one step at a time. So if they start talking about her job, they'll keep asking job-related questions until the whole conversation dies out. Here's the truth, real conversations doesn't work like that. And women jump from topic to topic all the time in the conversation. It actually makes the interaction feel more fun and natural. That's why you need to give yourself permission to switch topics. If the vibe of the conversation is slowing down, you don't need to stay stuck. You can pivot. For example, if you're talking about work and it's getting dull, you can say, "A random thought, but do you think pineapples belong on pizza?" Or "What have you eaten at breakfast this morning?" Now suddenly the energy is back and you're on a fresh, playful thread. Or, "By the way, do you have a guilty pleasure TV show you'd never admit on a first date?" "I like Disney movies." See how this works? It's spontaneous, it breaks the pattern, and it keeps the vibe alive. And the best part is women don't think it's weird. In fact, most of the time they'll roll with it because it matches the way they naturally think. So stop worrying about being perfectly linear. If one thread is dying, you can just switch topics. This is what keeps a conversation interesting. Now let's put it all together. First, you start with the warm-up drills. The flow drill to loosen up and switch topics easily, and the deep dive drill to stretch one idea and go deeper. Once you've warmed up, you've got your signature stories ready for those predictable questions like "Where are you from and what do you do?" Then instead of forcing your answers in, you flip it. You ask her the questions you want to answer yourself, and that gives you the perfect chance to share your stories. From there, you keep the conversation going by adding personal input instead of giving that flat one-word answers. And while you're listening, you don't just pay attention to her words, you pay attention to her emotions because that's what makes her feel understood. And finally, when a conversation gets dull, you just switch the topic and the vibe is back on. So if you put all of this into practice, awkward silences basically disappear. But here's the thing, talking forever doesn't automatically create attraction. You don't just want endless conversation. You want momentum that's leading to dates and connection with the kind of woman you truly want. And that's exactly what I break down in my free training, the high-value dating method. I'll show you the step-by-step process, successful menus to go from first impressions to conversations to real dates, and ultimately building a relationship with their dream woman. If you're serious about fixing this part of your life, click the link in the description and watch it right now. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.